You are watching Gabriola Island TV, community television, for you, by you.
Welcome. My name is Lisa Webster. I'm a volunteer with the Life on Gabriola Media Society, and it's my pleasure and honor today to interview Brenda Joy, president of the Gabriola Museum. I'm going to turn it over to you to introduce yourself the way that you would like and to give us a little bit of information about the project that's right here behind us.
Yes, well, thank you, Lisa, and thank you very much for this opportunity to speak about our new exhibit. We are very, very, very proud of it. It has been a work in progress for at least 2 years with a very dedicated team, and artistic director, project manager, Yarrow Koontz, has been involved with us from day one. The project speaks about honoring the two Japanese families on Gabriola, the Koyama family, who established a fish camp, floating fish camp and gas station and store at what is now Page's Resort and Marina in Silva Bay, and the Shinde family, who established the Sunrise Sawmill, also at Silva Bay. That was Yoshimatsu Shinde. He was the gentleman who started that.
So, yeah, this exhibit, these projects ended up being much heavier than I anticipated. There's a lot to hold and there's a lot to carry, not just for my family, but for the Shindes, Fukawas, Koyamas, and Yokotas, who live here on Gabriola and have ancestry on Gabriola. And so for me, the first task was to imagine, what does Oh-moh-ee-deh look like? It's easy to tell stories in words. How do we tell it in art form? So when we got the funding from the Japanese Canadian Legacies, I asked Gloria Hatfield to introduce me to Yosh Koyama. And Yosh and I had a 2-hour conversation on the phone. And I asked Yosh, I said, what would you like to see? And Yosh said, I would like to see my dad's fish camp rebuilt. And I said, what if it's chisai? What if it's very small? So that led me into the world of miniatures. And this is a world I had no experience with. And then I was trying to imagine how I was going to actually create this. And that's when I thought of Ron Crown, amazing genius with computers. And so from this project, Ron Crown and I had 3 photographs of the Koyama fish camp and 2 photographs of the sawmill. So we were trying to extrapolate from these pictures what these sites and what these buildings actually looked like. And one of the things we discovered after about a year was that Kanshiro Koyama was so brilliant. Each one of his buildings was on a separate raft. So the 3 photographs we had of the historic site all looked different because every single photograph he'd put the buildings in a different configuration. So we decided on going with the classic iconic photograph of the Koyama fish camp with the figure coming out of the door. We decided that might be Kanshiro. We don't actually know. And the same thing happened with the sawmill. There are only 3 photographs we know of the sawmill. And I was lucky to have Ruby Chapman give me her family's copy that I would love to give to Masako Fukawa. So the vision of these exhibits don't only include the Oh-moh-ee-deh exhibit here. This exhibit really honors the Koyamas and the Shindes. It also speaks to the forced removal of Japanese Canadians from the coast, which is why the exhibits are in suitcases. And to honor an artist, a Japanese Canadian artist, she did a traveling exhibit called The Suitcase Project. And so I wanted to honor her work because the question she asks people is, what would you pack if you had 24 hours? And so I wanted to ask viewers the same question and think about the items they see in the suitcases as things that were taken, but also, more importantly, what was left behind.
When the Japanese Canadians were forcibly uprooted during World War II, they were given a very short period of time to pack up their belongings and a very limited amount of what they could take with them. So the suitcase has come to represent the forced uprooting of Japanese Canadians during that time.
I think the reality is that this exhibit does 2 things. It celebrates the history of Japanese families and Canadians here on Gabe, but it also is a poignant reminder of the fact that Canada failed its Japanese communities because it forcibly removed them from their homes during the war. And so the use of suitcases in the exhibit, the use of things that make us think about what we would take if we were forcibly displaced from our homes, the way that Japanese families were forcibly displaced during the Second World War, I think it's very, very powerful, and it really spoke to me.
Good afternoon, my beautiful friends, elders, and dignitaries who have traveled together to share an experience and hear the stories of this place, acknowledging our presence. I was sitting there thinking, wow, 1940s. Where we had elders yet at Indian Point staying in their shacks, and how they may have mingled and shared meals together because that's what they do best. I think about our ancestors and the ancestors of this land who we are now honoring, of them standing together, witnessing this work, the legacy that they have left behind. How beautiful in heart does that look?
There are so many people that are part of this story and are going to start telling you the story in just a few moments. So we have Masako Fukawa, who is the granddaughter of, and I'm going to say it wrong, Yoshimatsu Shinde, who had a sawmill in our bay right there. Right there, you're looking over to where it was. And he had that back in 1918 through 25, so for 7 years, right in our bay, hired a lot of the people in the community, and was a part of the community. So she is here, and she brings with her her son and his wife and their 2 kids. So we have granddaughter, great-grand, and great-great-grandchildren of Yoshimatsu.
As I looked through those torii gates, where are they now? Okay, I reflected on the meaning of the torii as marking an entrance to a sacred place. My grandfather's mundane, earthly sawmill has now become a place of remembrance, an Omoide. Yoshimatsu Shinde, my grandfather, and his brother Matsunosuke were familiar with the waters around Gabriola. Both were fishermen, and they had relatives in the fishing industry up and down the BC coast. In between fishing seasons, they worked in the forestry industry. When they visited Gabriola, they immediately recognized the potential of Silva Bay, its sheltered waters, fine stands of timber, and its proximity to markets in Nanaimo and Vancouver. They leased land from John Silva, a Portuguese pioneer, and his wife Louise, the daughter of a Cowichan chief. They erected a sawmill, cookhouse, and dwellings for mill workers. They named the sawmill Sunrise for the Hinomaru, the rising sun of the Japanese flag. Silva Bay became known as Shinde Bay by the Japanese pioneers. The Omoide Gaman project is about remembrance and about connections over distance and time. The Pacific Ocean connects our ancestral home, Japan, to our present home, Canada. It also connects two villages similarly surrounded by the sea, Mio Village and Gabriola Island. Mio is located in Wakayama Prefecture on the island of Honshu, the largest of the islands that make up Japan. This connection over time spans a century. My father and his brother arrived on Gabriola in 1919, 107 years ago. This connection, which was severed, is now being renewed and strengthened.
We also have with us Daniel Yosh Koyama, who is the son of Kanshiro Koyama. Kanshiro had a fish camp over at the Other Pages Resort, and he had that back in 1927 for about 15 years. And Yosh today brings with him his grandson, Troy, who is so then great-grandson of Kanshiro.
Yeah, my name is Yosh Koyama. I'm known as Yosh on the Western Canada. But stateside, I'm known as Daniel Koyama. But anyway, my story is quite different. And I'm going to try to speak slowly so every one of you understand what I'm going to say. I don't have any prepared text like my counterpart, Masako. And what come out of my heart is what I'm going to disclose. All my factual events, and so many things happened in my dad's life as well as my mother, myself, and I don't know where to begin. I have a kaleidoscope type of image in front of me. I don't know which one to pick. I don't know where to start, but whatever comes to my mind. But the beginning, about 75 yards, Gloria, what do you think? The location was from this spot to where the Koyama's original fish camp was. 75 yards? 75? Okay. Plus or minus or whatever. Anyway, my dad was born on the St. Patrick's Day, 1898. he came to this shore, to Canada, I think 1917, if I could remember. I think Linda Lee of Nikkei Museum sent me all the archive data, and that's how I learned, and I store all that in here. And he developed this 75 yards from this spot, and he was making pretty good money in those days, he used to tell me. He used to average 100 Canadian dollar a day. Back in 1930, wasn't that a good money? Yeah. That's what I figured. So anyway, he went back to Japan to marry my mother, and my mother came over to this side, I think it was 1922, if I'm not mistaken. And she gave birth to her first baby. It was named Teruo Koyama, but he only lasted 6 months. And he died of vitamin B1 deficiency. You believe that? I guess my mother was a daughter of a Shinto priest. She probably didn't know how to take care of the baby. I don't know. Maybe anyway, my dad told her to go back to Japan and I'll come visit you. That's where you're gonna raise your family. So the fate have it. I should have, if the firstborn survived that 6 months, I should have been born Silva Bay, 1933. That's when I was born, on the other side of the ocean in Japan.
Namo Shouchi.
Two other parts are two monuments, one to the Koyama family, and then the other one to the Shinde family, and they are both designed to look like torii gates, a Shinto torii gate. Yeah, so one is at Silva Bay, and one is at Pages Resort and Marina.
And these are to honor the ancestors of those families who were here and were removed.
That's right. So it tells the story of each of those families. It also tells the story of what happened to those families when they were forcibly uprooted.
And now this is a permanent exhibit.
Yes, that's right.
And when can folks come to see it?
Yes, it is. All parts of it are permanent. So this exhibit here in the museum, we are open Tuesday to Saturday, 11 till 4. Okay. So people can come in. The Gammon exhibit is open all day at Pages Inn. However, I will say it has shutters, so when it rains, we do close them, but it's open for viewing 7/24, and then the torii gates are open all the time. Okay. Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Brenda. I really have appreciated chatting with you, and I'm hoping that our Gabriolans will have a chance to come out and learn a little bit more about the history of Gabriola and come to appreciate all the good works of the artists and that have been curated by Yarrow. And
Well, thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to speak about our new exhibit. Appreciate that. Thank you. Thanks.
So I'm actually going to formally say our exhibit, Oh-moh-ee-deh, is open. So thank you all for coming.